Welcome to the Everyday Warriors podcast, the perfect space to speak my truth and dive into deep conversations with others. This podcast is about celebrating everyday warriors, the people who face life's challenges head on, breaking through obstacles to build resilience, strength, and courage. Join me, your host, Trudy Marie, as I sit down with inspiring individuals who have fought their own battles and emerged stronger, sharing raw, real, and authentic stories in a safe space, allowing you to explore, question, and find your own path to new possibilities. Let us all embrace the warrior within and realize that while no one is walking in your shoes, others are on this same path, journeying through life together. Please note that the following podcast may contain discussions or topics that could be triggering or distressing for some listeners. I aim to provide informative and supportive content, but understand that certain things may evoke strong emotions or memories. If you find yourself feeling overwhelmed or in need of support while listening, I encourage you to pause the podcast and take a break. Remember that it is okay to prioritize your well-being and seek assistance from trained professionals. There is no shame in this. In fact, it is the first brave step to healing. If you require immediate support, please consider reaching out to Lifeline on 13 11 14 or a crisis intervention service in your area. Thank you for listening, and please take care of yourself as you engage with the content of this podcast. Love the Everyday Warriors podcast? It would mean the world to me if you were to leave a 5-star review to ensure that the Everyday Warriors podcast is heard by more listeners around the world. You can also support the show for as little as $5 with a one-time donation or by becoming a monthly subscriber. Your contribution helps me to continue bringing you inspiring stories of everyday warriors who overcome challenges to find strength, resilience, and new possibilities in life. Head to the link to buy me a coffee and fuel the next episode. Every bit counts. If you're looking for an inspiring story of resilience, healing, and rediscovering yourself, then my book, Everyday Warrior From Frontline to Freedom, is for you. It is my memoir of hiking the 1,000-kilometre Bibbulmun Track, a journey that was as much about finding my way back to myself as it was about conquering the trail, through the highs and lows and everything in between. This book is taken from my journals and is my raw and honest experience of overcoming trauma and embracing the strength within. Grab your copy now. Just head to the link in the show notes and let's take this journey together. Welcome to another episode of the Everyday Warriors podcast, and today I'm here with Christina. Christina was born in Indonesia and came to Australia to study and now calls Australia home and lives in Sydney with her 2 children. So welcome, Christina.
Thank you. Thanks, Trudy, for having me.
You're so
Glad
welcome.
you're here.
No worries at all. So where would you like to start your story, Christina? Because I know that you've got so many facets to what you want to say.
I would like to start my story actually when the time actually marriage, but actually pretty much in the age of into the separation that I'm quite naive back then, not knowing I actually in the age of a separation. So yes.
So tell me, you obviously came to Australia to study and then you met your husband here in Australia?
Correct. Yes, that's true. I met him at work actually. Yes, I was working in the city, in the CBD of Sydney. I was just only student. Yeah, just met him, and that's when it started. The story, the romance started actually.
Yeah, so you went on to get married and you had 2 children?
Correct. That's it. boy, which is now is already in uni. He is at 20 years old. And then one girl, which is turning 14 in October, which is still in year 8. So yes.
Beautiful. And how long after you had your children did the marriage start to break down?
Well, to be honest, we've been married almost 15 years. So it's not like 1 year or 2 years or like a few to 3 years. No, actually, it's a 15 years. Well, the first things, our marriage is quite, like normal couple, it's like honeymoon time and things like that. And our marriage is, I can say, it's the best ever. I never met originally like my husband back then. I call my husband. Is a very patient and things like that. We are very get along. Not until started a bit rocky for the first child, as most couple do. We just shocked because we never expecting we have to wake up like quite early and things like that. And then that's when my husband back then struggle. He can't handle with noisy. He can't handle with the sleeping interrupted. And that is the studying actually. But even so, he's still okay with that. And then we can cope, all right, in the way of how to handle with the baby sleep. So everything completely is a change. Like most couple just have a baby, you need to juggle, you need to adjust the way you're working, the way you wake up, who's doing what. So we coming into a routine, something that actually my husband back then can't cope with that because he struggle. He always sleep late, normally around 1 or 2 or 3, which is that actually the baby about to wake up for food. So that is a starting. Instead of me having a baby blue, then my husband back then has the baby blue, always in the bad mood on things like that. But when we cope, so that is this, we getting through at the first. And then a few years later, he asked me to have another second baby, which is, thank God, we got the beautiful little girl. After a few years later, that is the really, really hard part from our marriage because I'm not working. Then the situation getting start even harder because the financial is a bit tight and everything. Because in our family, in my family, the most income a big one is me, even though we have our own company. Back then, the company not bringing so much things, so we got into the debt, and then that is even worse. We're starting to have any like little argument into the big argument, and pretty much is I believe like I know some couples said that they got not enough sleep, they don't have enough intimacy or not enough this. But I see and over again, people is always the main reason is the financial is issue, and one of them that's what happened in my relationship in my family back then. That is the main thing, especially we have the company, so that is started.
Yeah, I just want to break down a couple of things you've said there, which I found really interesting. Is that one, we underestimate, I think, as human beings, male or female, what having a child makes a difference to a relationship. Like there are so many expectations of how it will be and it doesn't come through that way, but there is no handbook or rule book or guidebook on how to parent, and it is the most frustrating learning time of our lives that you really start to understand not only who you are as a person, but who the person you're married to is as a person and how they adapt to all those new changes. So
Totally.
clearly, you had some issues there, like you said, with your husband having to deal with that. Alongside that, I just want to draw attention to the fact that you said that instead of you having the postnatal depression, it was like your husband had like the baby blues. And I think that too is underestimated. That we look at constantly the female and what it's like for the female to be a mother and what she goes through, But often we fail to look at and we overlook what the actual father of the child goes through, because it's such an adjustment for them as well, that they haven't had to birth the baby, they're not feeding the baby, but their whole life has just been turned on its head as well, and we often neglect them. Which then brings me to the next point of you said that parenthood then puts a stress financially on the family situation, especially if the mother does give up work and you go from being a double income down to a single income family. Like, there are so many things within that dynamic that we have to look at overall as to how our lives are affected by becoming parents, which is one of the most natural things in the world.
Exactly. Yep. That's what it is. So it's very interesting when you said, because I know men, they don't talk much about their feeling compared to us. Girls or women, we just sharing with the women to women. Men don't do that. And other part as well that I'm struggle with, mind you, I'm not brought up in this country. Where I'm coming from, as you just mentioned, I'm coming from Indonesia. Where I'm coming from, it's quite conservative. For example, why I'm saying conservative, when we married, like you like completely like man at home. You're looking after the kids, you're helping. We have a servant or maid, which is not going to happen in here unless you're quite rich. You got nanny, which is later on I will mention to you. Yes, we do have a nanny, but we come with the cost like almost over 2 grand a month that I have to pay on top of our childcare, that we put our little one to the childcare. So this is what happened. That is sometimes the men maybe wasn't aware, or they not even talk, or they not even communicate what they need. For example, another thing to put it into a crazy or maybe overwhelmed. I did not realize like men in Australia, I don't know whether true or not. According to my husband back then, he needs like a cave time or me time. So he always going out every Thursday or every Wednesday. But when he going out, not going out, he come back the following day. And that is so struggle for me as a woman. Like to me, how could you go out? I just have a baby. That's not even communicate to me. I don't know, but every time he always said, "Oh, this is Australian. This is how Aussie do." Oh, really? My friend, my colleague in office, not doing like that. So sometimes I'm confused and questioning myself. Is this the culture in here? But again, as I said, I'm coming from the background is quite introvert, like very submissive. I know might be submissive words. It's not common in the nowadays culture. But where I'm coming from, submissive is a very things to do when you're married. You submit, you just follow whatever your husband said. I wasn't completely naive, not knowing. That wasn't common. But because at that time my husband always said, "Oh, we Aussie do this one, okay?" Keep following whatever he said until to the point, to me, this is too much. Like I'm bearing the burden myself. I'm cleaning up my home myself, I look after kids myself, cooking. Like I'm feeling like I'm just like single mom, but I do have husband because I cleaning up everything, try to adjust being newcomer to this country and let alone being a wife, try to suit him, come to the point, this is too much, but I don't know where else to go.
Look, I can totally get it in looking at the cultural difference alone and what you experience back home and how you were brought up in that conservative way. And like you said, you're almost submissive in a relationship. And you come to Australia marrying an Australian, and he's telling you, well, this is how we do things here, but you've got nothing to compare to whether that is correct or not correct, or if that's normal or not normal, because you've already got what your background is telling you to do. So you're trying to learn this new culture, not knowing if it's totally correct. Now, I can tell you from being married previously myself to my first husband that to a certain point I was also in that submissive category of that he would go out and he would work, he was the breadwinner, but then his sports and social life would take over as well. And I remember when we separated that a lot of the friends that I thought I had were actually all his, because they'd all come from his work and his background and his sporting events and stuff. So I found myself very much alone. And that leads me into the next part of your story where you end up separating and divorcing. Is that what it was like for you? Almost like being on your own?
Yeah, I'm being my own. It's like when I was with him, I do everything. The only one I got a friend is only back then is to a church, because I'm always active in the church. Mind you, I coming from the background is a Christians, very conservative. I have nowhere or nothing to compare. So I always follow whatever he does until come to the sense I thought to myself, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to come to the country. I'm getting poor and poor. This is and always in debt. So I thought to myself, I'm studying. I'm a breadwinner in the family. And yet, what am I the one who's doing everything home? So then while that's the studying, I went to see the counselor. Mind you, I met nine counselor, because I was at that time was thinking crazy because this is too much having a kid very small. And then 6 out of 9 counselors told me, Christine, this is not marriage. This is totally not marriage. In other words, you are working as a breadwinner, even though at the time I got back to work, still my salary quite big compared to him. 125 hours or 130 hours outside, but not even bring anything. And yet I'm still working and things, doing everything. That's when it start rocking. And when I start talking to him, he start thinking, oh, so you not trust me. Or you think so, so he's just starting now questioning me. I said, no, I need to see our books because I was one of the director. We have our own company. When I starting to speak up, then he start challenging me. He thought I'm not trusting him. And then that's when he's starting saying that I'm like starting a like gold digger. I said, what gold am I digging in here? I'm asking our company income or any revenue. He said, no, you didn't understand. I said, which part I don't understand? I'm working in finance. I'm doing accounting every single day. And that is a become our issue every day. And I try to stop, but I can't because there is no money coming into the family. 11 years, almost over 11 years, he didn't bring any money. And I keep believing because I thought I'm being a wife, being a good, but 11 years, nothing at all.
It sounds a little bit like he was gaslighting you, almost as that submissive foreign wife. I'm going to put it that way, because he expected you to almost just play dumb and go along with it. But like you said, you were working in finance, you're a trained accountant, you were able to understand and read in and starting to question, like, hold on a second, what's going on here? But then being made to feel like kind of stupid and that you didn't know what you were talking about in the process.
Exactly. That's 100% Trudy. Every time I ask, can I see the book? And he always said to me, no, 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 you wouldn't understand because this is accounting. This is it's kind of accounting improvisation. I said, what is that supposed to mean? I said, there is no such thing. Accounting very straightforward, debit and credit. Even you improve somewhere somehow, I can find the numbers because in accounting, in and out has to be balanced. Simple it is. But to cut long story short, he sometimes he said, don't start it again. Every time I talk about money, it is you always firing up. I said, I need to know what is going on with our company because he keep asking me to pay. He always said, oh, Christine, we're doing blah, 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 blah. I said, why you didn't tell me when you're doing or you're signing agreement? Why did you tell me after the issue arises? Oh, you're not there, but I'm one of the things. So it makes me lose trust. Imagine women when lose trust, you cannot show respect. To be honest, that was the last thing I want to even. think, if women lost trust, there is no way I can even want to give him even more. And then I lose respect because there's nothing to produce. And that is going to worse and worse. That is when the arguments starting even more. Normally, we never even argue in not even once a week, not even every fortnight, no. But then because I lose trust, because I can't see any income coming in. So yes.
So, how were you coping at the time? Like, obviously, you're working, you've got this stuff going on with your husband and his company, plus you're trying to be a mother to your two kids. Like, how were you mentally coping and how was your mindset during that whole time period?
To be honest, I just try to survive because my baby very small back then. Okay. How I cope, to be honest, back then, all my mind, everything is focused on my kids. It is overwhelmed, but at the end, I end up like being like automatic. The moment I wake up, I do straight away. This. I'm not even care about my feeling because I have to be strong for my two kids. And then I'm only thinking, oh, I got saving here. Oh, I need to take. Oh, what else did I need to sell it to survive? Because I hate that. Being me, I will never ever buy something if I know can't afford it. And then he keep using credit card over credit card, and little that I know is spiraling down. Now he keep asking money for me to top up to pay for the debt. And I said, I can't because I'm already up to here. I was working back then, paid his debt. He keep borrowing money. It's like I'm injecting, someone with alcohol or drugs. I only giving him the fish without teach him how to do fishing. But in the same token, in the other side, he never want to allow me to open the books, the company books, everything taken care of. But yet he always asking for money, more money. And that's what I saw my bank account getting decreased and decreased. And I was in a panic mode. I said, oh, this is not happening. That's why I went to the counselor to searching for helps and everything. Because truly, as I said, I wasn't born in here. I don't know where to go. I don't know which help is available. In fact, I don't know back then what is a Centrelink. I have no idea because our money done by him. He looked after. He even moved my savings to somewhere else.
Wow. So, how old were your children when you finally separated and said no more?
Back then, my daughter is almost 3 years. When she was 18 months. At that time, I'm just enter my degree. So completely separate when, yeah, she's just past 2 years, 2.5. Yeah, very small. And then, yeah, he took it everything, even our savings. Left me not even 1 cent.
Wow. So, you've literally had to start over as a single parent with two children and absolutely nothing behind you except for a new
Nothing.
degree.
That's right. Nothing at all. Not even money. So even the kids' money, like for example, the moment my each of my child's born, we open the bank. So we put the money there. Total accumulate back then, if I'm not wrong, might be almost 9 or 10 grand. Little that I know, actually that bank under his name as a guardian, that wasn't put my name. Like imagine, I wasn't even know. At the time, I trusted him completely. He put the guardian only himself. So the moment we separate, he not only took in our money, together money, including the kids' bank, he emptied it completely.
So, how has that been for you now, starting over?
Well, at the time, I was just shocked, to be honest. As I said, I have no idea what need to be done. I don't know what to do. I don't know what a benefit, anything that I can do. So when we finally going to the separate, because I found it, he actually in debt. That's the reason why separation happened. I talked to my girlfriend, the friend from church working in the Centrelink. And then this a friend of mine, she is working until now in the family, family things in the Centrally. So she printed for me 7 different forms. So she helped me to fill up everything. I had no idea. Within less than 2 weeks, everything done. She helped me to submit it. So when we submitted, the Centrelink called me. I told everything what I know, what happened to me. They helped me. That has helped me a lot. I was so shocked in the way that here I am, come from the family. It's quite, yeah, I don't want to say the wealthy, but I came from the family quite okay. Where I'm coming from, very well educated. My dad, my uncle, everyone is quite prominent. Live only teen, like seriously, this is way. But then I started all over again. So that's how I started. And then to cut long story short, everything started, took me almost a year and two while I'm studying. And I was teaching back then, teaching Indonesia and also as a translator to a big, big company. But that is my starting point. I start doing translation. I meet a big, big prominent people in the country because they opened a business in Indonesia, in Bali, in Jakarta. So I start teach them. I start help them become a tutor, Indonesian tutor, and a translator to a few company. And then that's why I get the money because I can't proper working with the 2 kids. And then, yeah, within less than 3 years, obviously I got, finished my subject working as a finance or, a financial analyst. And then our life is getting better and better, start all over again. Because at the time I was studying, I can't work as a full time. I was working as a part time as a translator, but they pay me quite well. The good thing, they even pay my studying. So I pay almost over 40,000, 45,000 to be honest, in total. I pay all my subject in cash.
Wow, that's such an accomplishment to go from being completely wiped out financially, left with nothing but your children, to have to go and become not only deal with your children as a single parent, but to have no idea, no family support because all your family's back home in Indonesia, and then to not only find some work to help support you through that time, but to be able to pay your studies off in cash that most people, have a HECS debt for many, many years to pay their studies. And you've actually come out on the other side without any debt. Kudos to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Not just that, during that time, no one knows that actually I'm going through. And I feel it as well. I don't want to tell people too much because at that time I was in the healing time. So I don't want to talk too much to other people. It's not that I'm so scared being a mom, single mom. I know people sometimes have, the things that, oh, if become a single mom is really bad, you are poor and things like that, maybe put to other people. But yet I'm studying. I didn't tell to my family back home. I got my one sister in here, which is she knew what's happening to me. But I also have to sponsor a few people back in my hometown. So you can imagine looking after my 2 kids, pay my own studying, pay our daily life, daily living. And on top of that, I got a few kids that I was sponsored and still is now back in the overseas, in Honduras and a couple in Indonesia. Make me actually even stronger. I thought I will be, oh my God, I have to go back to my own country. It's actually the opposite. It's, yeah, such a journey.
I can totally see that you have been through a lot of stuff in that time, not only mentally, but emotionally and financially to start over again. So, what, apart from doing your study and finding work, what other things did you do to support yourself and your own well-being during that time? Like you said to begin with, that you were a very shy person coming to Australia and when you first got married to who you are now. Like, how has that transformation occurred?
During that time, to be honest, I stay with one my counselor. because I told you I met 9 counselors. So I stick with one lady, she was my lecturer. She helped me going through almost 1.5 years. So she's studying with every week, mentoring me and helping me how to come out from the other end, and then reduce every fortnight, and then reduce every month to see how it goes, until that, like, only once every 3 months, once every 6 months. And then she helped me to suggest as well to meet a few training to help me with my emotion, with my mental well-being and things like that. Because obviously, being single mom, at a time, I can't go everywhere too much because I still have a little one. So she helped me give a few training how to be assertive, which is wow. To be honest, Rudy, going through that, I have no idea what you said is gaslighting or abusive, verbally abusive. I have no clue. Actually, that is a shape or form of abusive, because where I'm coming from, like in Asian, I don't know. Again, I'm not going to generalize all the Asian people, okay? Where I'm coming from, when you are married, when men hitting you, this is a normal. I have no idea that actually is not domestic violence if someone hitting. But I'm not saying that my now is my ex is hitting me. Back then, no, he never hit me. But the verbally abuse, I have no idea. When he belittle me, he's like a borrow money all the time. Actually, that's one sign of financial abusive. I have no clue, because to me, that's me being a wife. That is my job. When I came here, then I understand what does that mean, abuse, being abused, gaslighting. I have no clue at all, because that's not something that I grew up with. I've been told that we need to put up as a wife when you're married. That's just it. Once you're married, you're set for the rest of your life. But actually, it's not the case.
I totally agree. And it's one of the things that is overlooked. And a lot of people do believe like family and domestic violence is only the physical abuse that they talk
Correct.
about. And yet, as a
Yeah.
police officer, I used to see it all the time. The coercive behavior, the control, the manipulation, the emotional abuse, that happens far greater than we like to think of in our Western culture, such as Australia. And it is so bad out there in some instances that, yeah, you don't see it when you're in it. It's not until you start to
Not at
get to the
all.
worst case end of it, or that you step away from that situation, that you look back and you go, wow, that's how it happened. And I can relate to that because between my first husband leaving me and finding my second husband, I was in a short-term relationship, and that short-term relationship was very much that same coercive control manipulative behavior that I actually recognized it. This was before I was a police officer, but I recognized the behavior and I was like, no, I'm not going to put up with this. Hence we split. And I swore I would never go back into that kind of situation again. But because I'd been in that situation when I was a police officer, it allowed me to see it almost like with just 100% clear vision, like 20/20 vision, because you knew the signs and symptoms to look for and the behaviors. And often it's not always the male either. It's quite often the female that does this in society. And you would go to jobs and people would be like, I'm giving you the police. I would be like, I'm giving you the police order to whichever party, male or female. And they're like, but hold on. I'm like, no, I can see what's going on here. And I would deal with it in that situation. So you're very right, is that you don't, I think, don't feel bad about yourself that you weren't able to see it, because I think it's the case for so many. couples or people in a relationship out there, male or female. Like, this is not just a male dominated thing. Males are just as much victims in this behavior, but it's so hard to actually see it for yourself.
Yeah, that's so true, Trudy. But other thing as well, I'm coming from the family is totally like taboo. If you got a separate divorce and things like that, it's never in my entire family. If something because to get separate, let alone leading to divorce, that the whole entire claim you can imagine it will involve. It's not so with Australian. They are quite, I'm not saying they're quite individual, okay? So it's totally different dynamic in here. So when I about to say, oh no, this is something wrong, this is something that is not end up in here for me. This is not married for me. That's the reason why I went and looking for help. To me, I'm not saying enough is enough until to be honest, when I did a counseling back then, it almost took me for almost 4 or 5 years. Yeah. So I'm one after another until people said you open, until I said, click, it's a light bulb to me. Ah, this is true. Because it's not make sense to me if people always say, and he said, this is Australian do it. I thought, nah, it's not right. This is something not right in here. Mind you, this is I never married before. I got only my boyfriend, only two. So I'm not the kind of a woman like wow, So I have not much experience. But one thing I learned, this is that since that happened, I encourage women just to open because the feeling judged by people, especially like us, it's a very bad. That's why sometimes women put up with that rather than shame become become a single mom or widows or whatever people want to call. Some people not ready because they're feeling shame and that the guilty or shame that actually the very first time my counselor helped me to heal. And then thank God, to be honest, it's a much better. Looking back, I'm never regret, to be honest, because I left him. I'm the one who initiated to left him. I'm never ever know that a woman actually even wild because I see myself, it's quite conservative, very timid, very things, but going through this one, I have to be a tough because I have to be supportive as a mom. And I'm helping a few women alongside me that are founded not only single mom, but women as well that got going through might be a traumatic with the family, whatever that is. That's what it is helped me because so many women in the situation, unlike they from grew up in Australia, they're feeling freedom. It's not like that with women from different country, especially if the country is the background is a Muslim. Indonesia is one of the largest Muslim country in the world. We have over 286 or 89 million population. 95% is a Muslim. So you can imagine how we grew up. So women have no voice. So that's why it's now I can understand. Then we can learn to how to manage to support each other and be like speak up. I wasn't like that before, so I have to learn. It's a bit balanced there. Certain thing that I see myself is going through this one is totally different. So yeah, something not like to be shame, isn't it?
How has going through that healing process and becoming more empowered to use your voice and be an equal, how has that impacted your children and the way you mother?
I think the thing is for my children. I always teach my children to be like they allowed to saying what they feel and say no. So when somebody to do anything or touch, or if they're feeling uncomfortable, they're allowed to say what they feel. That wasn't like that when I grew up. Whatever that is, follow. A is A, everything. But with my children now, let's say, Mom, I don't like this one. Okay, sometimes I ask why, because this one is okay, fine. And I would not force them. I don't have that privilege to say no when I grew up. right? Because that's how I've been taught. Not just that, when my children, let's say people bullying or things, they're allowed to say something, whatever they're feeling, or any part that they're not comfortable with. So something that I actually empower my kids as well to say no. And then I can see, especially in my daughter, I think girls always different with boy. My boy is quite shy. Remind me when I was. My girl actually the opposite me after transformations. I see that two different things, but they allowed to talk. When I grew up, I'm not allowed to like even to give any opinion to my parents. They say A, it will be A. That's it. I see so different how like a Western country brought up, their children. So what I did, I combined the way they talk to the older people, they more the Asian things, the polite thing, but the way they think, the way they, give the opinion. So yeah, follow the, I can say like Australian way. So there is their balance there. Because sometimes I see as well kids in here a bit like disrespect sometimes, but that's not so in where I grew up. So now I said to my kids, especially the people, say something. It's okay. And there is no shame, no judge for that. Whatever that is, there is no right or wrong. Everyone different, different perspective. So that's the way they see. That's why they're different.
I
So
love
yeah,
I love that you've created, like you said, you've blended the best of both your upbringing and the Australian way that they live in now by teaching them to be respectful and mindful, because I tend to agree that is something lacking in the modern generation, is that there is this lack of respect for what's come before them, but also to empower them to use their voice, to have an opinion, to express themselves freely, while at the same time maintaining and setting really healthy boundaries, that they can say no, that they don't have to be the yes person or that they become intimidated by those around them, that they have the space to be exactly who they need to be.
totally, 100%, Trudy, 100%. So that's the thing that I said, because sometimes even my kids always ask me, especially my daughters, Mom, how many exactly your mom or your dad having children? Why everyone you call auntie or you call uncle? Because in my culture, we don't know call us Trudy. No, no. If you are close to me, right, Trudy, they'll say, "Oh, Auntie Trudy." Can I say so? If you have to call Auntie, but in here, we say, "Hey, Trudy, you can." Oh, no, it does never happen in my culture. That's why sometimes my kids always ask me, "Oh, I didn't realize that grandma got so many kids. How come?" And then finally, when I brought them to Indonesia, I introduced them, said, "Hey, it's only this, your real auntie. The rest is, yes, auntie, auntie, but it's to show the respect." Ah, okay. Now they understood. That's why when they meet my friends, my girlfriend, or it's always, they always call auntie or uncle. So that's how as I say, it's a balancing it here.
It is, and you
So,
know what? It's an old Australian custom that seems to have gone
oh,
by the
really?
wayside as well. Because when I grew up calling my parents' family friends auntie and uncle for a lot of the really
Oh,
close
wow.
ones, especially if they were older. And then I taught my children to call certain people auntie and uncle because they were close family friends. But in this day and age, I don't think that's probably used at all. I think it's an old custom. So, yeah, there are still family friends. Even, I mean, I'm nearly 50 and I would still call certain people auntie and uncle because it would feel
Yeah,
disrespectful to just call them by their name.
exactly. That's what happened. I felt, yeah, 100%, 100%.
Yeah. So now that you've been through all of that and you've obviously restudied and you've changed careers, like what does the future look like for Christina now?
Our future is a brighter and brighter. I'm so thankful with what it. I think it all depends how people perspective to see this. I don't know whatever people want to call either like journey for me being divorce actually is a taught me even like a lesson is that I'm forever, forever grateful. For me, the thing is heal me the most because I release him and I forgive. Forgive for me. I know might be some people not agree with me, which is fine. To me, I don't want to be in prison, my own, in my own self. Because when I releasing forgiveness, it's not so much about him, but about me. I need to release myself so that I can move forward. Whether he, until now, we speaking, he never said that he's wrong, always me. Now, having talking about even mention his name, I never react, never. Before, every time here, if I can get, like a big walk, I would just want to bang. But now, because I heal and I already move on. To me, I just glad he's a part of, I got kids, obviously. I'm thankful. That's all I need. That's all I want. But now I move on because I see a big future. If not because of this event happened, it never made me to who I am now. I even get it stronger. I can help because if I want to help many, many women in this path, I cannot help them because I've never been. If you want to help someone, for example, domestic violence, how are you going to help them? You never been in that situation. You end up just talking. You never feel what other people felt or going through. But now, through this journey, I help like many women and I bring like hope to many. And I see myself helping many, many, many women, not just only women that are married, but girls are growing up because they don't have like say father or mother. I'm helping them in the way that I can help because I experiencing what is a feel like. So yeah, to me, the way I see this painful, it taught me a lot of things. Actually, I'm so grateful. Give you some example like a jar or maybe a vase. When they things hold, you can't see the light. When they get something cracking and you try to put gluing back together, when you put maybe light on things like that, I don't know, maybe there is the Japanese saying that you can see the light. Yes, look a star, but it looks so nice because of this scar. Each one of us bring a scar at some point. I don't know what scar. Some people may be a death. Some people might be incident in the family, whatever might be. But it's up to individual, each one of us, to see whether this is a bringing blessing or bringing curse to your life. To me, it's always a bringing a blessing at the end. So because what I see is make me even stronger and come up now. I can even like speak up like I wasn't like that before. So that's I see.
I love that because you really highlight the fact that we can learn from our past in all aspects of our past, and the way that you've framed it, that everything has happened for you rather than to you, it's such a perspective shift that so many people will not take or will not acknowledge. It's they sit there and play the victim, that this has happened to me. And don't get me wrong, when you're in it and you're in the thick of it, it does feel like
That's
it's
it.
happening to you. But once that's all over, if you continue to say, oh, this happened to me and this is what's going on, and you play the woe is me victim, your life is never going to open up with possibility. But the minute you say, right, this happened for me to learn a lesson, and for you, it's been about how to be stronger, how to use your voice, how to, transform in that way. It's happened for you so that you can live a bigger and better life as you move forward. So, does that for you involve, like, are you still counseling or you are now more coaching? Like, how does that look for Christina?
In the past, I actually counseling many people. To be honest, as I said, I had countless how many, but at that time is that in the context of in the church, outside the church, and also some of our friends from work, even my colleague, to be honest. But at the time, because I just want to help, to help them because what I've been through, going through. And sometimes people just need like ears to hear or shoulder to cry on, pretty much. And but in our DNA nowadays, people are so busy, to be honest, Trudy. People have not even any times to even to listen and stop. And I think that's why there is like the day says, "Are you okay?" days, which you should not be okay. Say we actually should stop and sometimes have a time to ask people, "Hey, you right? Are you okay, girls? Are you all right, mate?" But now I actually started build and then I'm coaching towards people now. That's what I do at the moment, beside of what I do in the finance. So yeah, that is my things to do right now, to strengthen, especially not only women out there, single mom, single dad. It doesn't matter. I don't really like when people say, "Oh, you're single," but really, when we were born, we are single. People always say they're single and really feeling a bad image, but really not. It's just only what society give you. What do you call identity? My identity is not there. I'm complete. I'm enough. I don't need like people to complete me. Like I'm more than enough. Everything that you need, I always say to people, is inside you. It's just a matter how you finding. No matter what, no matter whatever circumstance that you're facing, it's everything in you. Just a matter you finding the diamond is in you.
100%. And I think we rely on that too much, whether it's our careers, whether it's our families, whether it's our relationships. We try to identify ourselves outside of ourselves. And if we come back to center and come back to our own heart space and lead with love and kindness, then
Yeah.
we just get to be ourselves, whole and complete every single day.
Yeah. And the thing is, one thing that I like it as well, Trudy, where I grew up again, back to where I was coming, I have no chance. Once you being a mom, you're doing everything from the moment, sunrise until sunset. Is all about people, but you're not even looking after. When this has happened, I was surprised. I've been I've been taught, I've been trained. Look at yourself first. I always fill my cups first. Has to fill my cup first. Whatever in my cup is for me, whatever runs over, then I can give it to others. And that principle since 2013, 14, when I'm going through, back then only separation, that is really resonant in my spirit. Then I have to look after. I never look after myself, to be honest. I'm I'm a giver. I'm a very generous people who know me well. I'm very loyal, compassion, giver, but I always giving, but never looking after myself. But that's why I said that moment, instead of blaming other people. In fact, I don't even blame later on. I mean, my ex take two people to tango, right? So two people right, two people wrong too. So for me, just move forward. But what I see, I always feel my cup first.
It's such a great lesson because so often we think we're being selfish by taking care of ourselves first, when actually that's exactly what we need to do. We need to fill our own cup, charge our own batteries first, and then whatever the cup runneth over is what we give to the rest of the world. And it's the way to live life, and more of us need to be doing exactly that. So I will pop all your details for people to contact you in the show notes. And I want to say thank you so much for giving us a raw and vulnerable look at your experience and what you had to go through, in your whole separation and divorce, and seeing how far you've come now that you're on the other side.
Yes, thank you, Trudy. Before we just, I just want to say thank you for your time and thank you for whoever, I hope whatever the listener listening to your podcast, they can just be strengthened that actually even though they are a separate or divorce situation, this is not the end of the world. Actually, it can be in the beginning, or maybe the journey just start to, to blooming, to flourish. So yeah, and thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me for this afternoon.
You're most welcome. And I always finish the podcast by asking, what are you most grateful for today?
Me being invited by you, I'm so grateful. That you invite me, trusting me with this such a big platform. But above all, I'm always thanking. I mean, for me, the Lord. I'm a believer. I know for me that I can even breathe, take my things to do what I do. I'm just always thanking the Lord. For me, it's a God is such amazing things for me that I can even, grateful to this journey.
Thank you for tuning in to the Everyday Warriors podcast. If you have an idea for a future episode or a story you'd like to share yourself, then please reach out and message me, as I am always up for real, raw, and authentic conversations with other everyday warriors. Also, be sure to subscribe so that you can download all the latest episodes as they are published, and spread the word to your family and friends and colleagues so they can listen in too. If you're sharing on social media, please be sure to tag me so that I can personally acknowledge you. I'm always open to comment about how these episodes have resonated with you, the listener. And remember, lead with love as you live this one wild and precious life.